There was always something ironic and even a bit funny about a computer asking a human to prove he or she is human. Usually, this involves selecting which squares contain part of a traffic light or clicking a check mark in a box. But as AI proliferates, it's no longer possible to laugh at being asked to prove one's humanity. As LLMs who move from robotic sounding text to being able to generate written word that sounds human, and let's acknowledge here that they could only do this by stealing, in the moral sense, massive amounts of intellectual property, now all writing is subject to suspicion. Many articles have been penned on how to identify writing as AI. Some of the identifiers are pretty unique to AI writing. Others are as basic as this writing uses em dashes, this writing uses the rule of three, this writing is too concise. So essentially, rules of writing authors have used for centuries are now identified as hallmarks of AI writing. As a formality, many pieces of writing are now shoved through an AI text checker to ensure that they were indeed written by a human. An AI text checker essentially evaluates the content and determines the probability of whether the writing was created by a human or generated by an AI. These tests often show the percentage of sentences in the content that are suspicious. Is it 100% human, 50% human, and 50% AI? Is it 100% AI, some other mix? Many take the results produced by these checkers as absolute truth, but they might be anything but. In fact, put a piece of writing through several of these checkers and you can receive results that range from 100% human in one checker to highly suspected of being AI in another. After putting a piece through an AI checker, one writer receives suggestions from an LLM, and yes, let's notice the irony here, on how to make the writing sound more human. Its suggestions included adding typos, removing conciseness, and deleting a table. In other words, take the human's writing and make it worse to prove that it is human. The sad fact is that much of what sets off these AI checkers is there because humans use those techniques enough that AI learned them. The rule of three is basic writing, lists of three items feel complete. Clean and grammatically accurate text is because someone put in the work to learn the rules. Em dashes are a highly useful tool used for dialogue, emphasis, humor, and more. It's bad enough that using techniques of good writing now opens one up to suspicion that they didn't write what they wrote at all, but there are even worse problems with these AI text checker tools. For one, AI checkers are notorious for false positives. One student was called into his professor's office where he was informed that the rough draft he had shared with his professor to get his input had been flagged by an AI checker. The professor was disappointed and showed it. The student was shocked that 80% of the paper he'd submitted was flagged as AI, a paper he knew very well wasn't AI generated since he had written it himself. With many accepting these AI checker results as absolute proof of wrongdoing, how was the student supposed to prove his innocence? He challenged the professor to put the professor's own dissertation through the AI checker to see what the results would be for the professor's paper that had been penned before LLMs. The professor was open to the suggestion, and he was shocked to discover his own dissertation was analyzed as being over 90% likely of being AI generated. Fiction and creative nonfiction writers have more freedom to sound, well, human. For academic and text writers, less creative freedom and a focus on concise and more formal writing rev up the chance of being flagged as AI much higher. And we can't forget to mention English as a second language writers who will rarely be as creatively advanced as those speaking his or her native language. And many have put writings such as the Bible, the Declaration of Independence, Pride and Prejudice, A Christmas Carol, and Shakespeare's plays through AI checkers, and they have all been flagged as being AI generated. It is unfair that because AI has swallowed and used the voices of the best writers, now the best writers are suspected of plagiarism simply for writing as they always have. AI plagiarized everyone, and now AI checkers accuse many innocent people of using AI content, even though that AI content was only made possible by stealing the work of other people and learning from it. Another big problem is AI text checkers can also return false negatives. If a person alters the text a little or prompts the AI to write like a specific person, AI checkers can miss that the content was AI generated. This can be a big issue, especially in settings such as academia. A professor listened to the presentation of a student contrasting two pieces of art. The analysis was deep but a bit too eloquent to sound like the student. A follow-up question by the professor asked the student to summarize her presentation. Her response was that one painting had a pretty dress in it and the other was dark. While the too eloquent sounding word in the presentation set off the professor's suspicions, a more careful student could put pieces of their writing style into an LLM and ask the LLM to write in that style. The LLM can produce content that sounds like the student, or at least sounds like the student with a little light editing. Professors are left to determine if the student actually knows where they speak and if the student has learned anything from the class or just learned how to prompt an AI to fake it. An AI checker might assist these professors, but the risk of false positives or negatives leaves evaluation difficult. Innocence or guilt becomes ever harder to determine. Mia, a young author, self-published a book and sold enough copies that she attracted the interest of a large traditional publishing house in the UK. That company's American branch then acquired publishing rights in the USA. Neither branch seemed bothered that it had already come out that Mia had stolen art from someone else to create her cover. Perhaps that should have given them a bit of pause. With the American release date around a month away, AI checkers, public scrutiny, and an analysis of the text resulted in the book being pulled for being written by AI. While Mia maintains that a hired editor must have put the book through an AI to edit it, and she never used AI herself, there is enough proof that the American publishing company opted to lose a lot of money rather than release the book. Mia has now sued the publishing house for libel. While the publishing house has not yet countersued, as of the making of this video, the case is ongoing. The case brings up a lot of issues. Actually, innocent writers might be accused and have their reputations marched through the mud. Guilty writers who get away with passing AI off as their own work are taking the contracts and publishing spots of writers who have actually used their own minds and voices to create a manuscript. For publishers, AI-generated text is currently in a very gray area in regards to being hard or perhaps impossible to copyright. That's a problem for a publishing company, including the one that had planned to publish Mia's work, to realize the project in which it invested can be reprinted and sold elsewhere, possibly with limited legal recourse. The case is messy no matter how one looks at it. Also messy is the reality that if AI created that book, it could only do so by using the voices of authors whose work was fed to the LLMs without their consent or knowledge. So just plain messy all around, with many different battles currently being litigated. As of now, the boundaries of fair use, copyright, and AI are still uncertain and highly contested. What is certain is that LLMs have changed the publishing world. Using M-dashes and the rule of 3 an author has used for his or her entire career might suddenly mean facing accusations of using AI. It's a bit of a vicious circle, with many falling on very opposite sides of the argument. AI companies insist that using copyrighted material without permission was only to train their models and falls under fair use. Writers have a different take. For them, AI took their writing without consent to train. Now AI uses the author's own writing to create content that echoes the author's style. When an AI checker incorrectly identifies a human's writing as machine-generated, it feels even worse because the AI is matching patterns that appear in AI text, but those patterns exist in AI text because the models learned them from human writing in the first place. This leaves AI text checkers in a messy world of both false positives and false negatives. The real loop here is that AI learned from humans, and now humans get told their writing looks like AI. Whether it is fair use or not is still being determined, but for the writers who have spent countless hours perfecting their craft, being accused of using AI is a tragedy. AI is a useful tool, but it should be approached with thought. If you need the right technology partner for your business, find out how Swan Software Solutions can help. Visit swansoftwaresolutions.com to find out more.